ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වරට SLT 4G වෙතින් දැන් Pure TV නරඹන්න. ඉදිරියටම ගෙන යන SLT 4G.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, jumping to action. Central Bank announces a host of economic measures following President's dressing down. Get on board. The SLTDA tells hotel operators register or miss out on August bookings boon.
Going forward, there will be a visa process which would include the requirement to provide your itinerary and bookings in a registered, certified, COVID-certified, safe hotels.
Immediate action. Magistrate orders CID to immediately enforce arrest warrants against key bond scam suspects. Nuclear giants. Clashes along India-China border leaves 20 Indian soldiers dead as China appeals for calm. All this and much more coming up on this Wednesday, the 17th of June 2020.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9.
නව සන්ලයිට් සකුරා දැන් දික්කුකල් පවතින සකුරා මල් සුවඳින්.
Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Shanella Fernando. First up, we start with a regional story that's making headlines across the world. Protests have erupted in India following the death of 20 Indian soldiers in a clash along its border with China. The Chinese Foreign Ministry stated that they do not expect any more clashes between the two armies as they are ready to find solutions through possible discussions. The India-Chinese military clash is said to be the first since 1967.
20 Indian soldiers have been killed fighting Chinese troops along a disputed border region on Monday. In a statement, the Indian Army said that 17 critically injured Indian troops succumbed to their wounds, in addition to an officer and 2 soldiers who had died earlier. The exact circumstances of the clashes, however, are yet to be clear. The recent deaths are the first casualties in 53 years to result from a clash between the nuclear-armed neighbours. Pertaining to the incident, protests erupted in parts of India, and protesters in India's eastern Patna city raised anti-China slogans and demanded a surgical strike on China as they burnt an effigy of President Xi Jinping. Meanwhile, lamps were lit and tributes were paid in Varanasi as residents remembered the sacrifice of their soldiers. In the meantime, China says that it does not want to see any more clashes on the border, adding that both countries are trying to resolve the situation via dialogue. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian reiterated that China is not to be blamed for the clash and said the overall situation at the border is stable and controllable.
Central Bank has introduced a new credit scheme and slashed its statutory reserve ratio by 2%, releasing 115 billion rupees into the country's credit system. The liquidity injection came after President Gotabaya Rajapaksa summoned top officials of the central bank yesterday and issued an ultimatum to the bank's officials to propose plans to resurrect the country's virus-ravaged economy.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa had scathing comments for central bank officials yesterday for what he termed their lack of support to revive the economy in these difficult times.
දැන් අපිට තියෙන්නේ මේක ඉකොනොමික් ක්‍රයිසිස් එකක පහළටම වැටෙන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා මේක ගොඩ ගන්න ඒකක තියෙන ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ අතේ. කරුණාකරලා මම කියන දේ අප්‍රූව් කරන්නේ නැත්නම් ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ එක හෙට උදේ වෙනකොට දෙන්න.
In support of the government's efforts to revive the economy, the Monetary Board of the Central Bank has decided to introduce new credit schemes under Section 83 of the Monetary Law Act, number 58 of 1949. Accordingly, the central bank will provide funding to licensed commercial banks at the concessionary rate of 1% against the pledge of a broad spectrum of collateral on the condition that the banks in turn will lend to domestic businesses at 4% while ensuring the greatest possible distribution of this facility. As per the central bank, this scheme, along with the existing refinancing scheme, will provide 150 billion rupees in total to businesses affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. The central bank has also cut the statutory reserve ratio, reducing the share of deposits that banks deposit with the central bank to 2% from 4%. This reduction in the SRR injects around 115 billion rupees of additional liquidity to the domestic money market, enabling the financial system to expedite credit flows to the economy while reducing the cost of funds of licensed commercial banks. Meanwhile, a 3-member committee has been appointed by Governor of the Central Bank, Professor W.D. Lakshman, to probe irregularities at financial institutions and leasing companies. The committee will be chaired by the Director General of Legal Affairs of the Presidential Secretariat, Harigupta Rohanadira. The rest of the committee comprises of Director of the Legal and Compliance Department of the Central Bank, KGP Sirikumara, and the Director of the Department of Supervision of Non-Bank Financial Institutions, JP Kamlat. The committee is expected to compile and submit its report within 14 days. Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority Chairperson Kimali Fernando called on local accommodation providers to register with the authority in order to take advantage of any new bookings for tourists. Arrivals who will be expected to show a confirmed booking at a certified COVID-safe hotel during a new visa application process. She added that with airports tipped to reopen from August onwards, any tourist arrivals will follow stringent measures to protect the local population from any virus threats.
Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority Chairperson Kimali Fernando outlined the government's guidelines for tourists and service providers as the country prepares to welcome them back from August onwards. She urged local accommodation providers of all categories to register with the SLTDA for COVID-safe certification in order to be eligible for bookings generated via a specific guideline mandating tourists to show a confirmed reservation at an SLTDA certified hotel during the new visa application process. She added that although stringent measures such as mandatory PCR tests carried out 72 hours before departure may have some complications for tourists from countries with PCR test limitations, further discussions will be held to iron out these issues.
With the success had in Sri Lanka with handling the COVID, there has been discussions now to open the airport for international tourists to visit Sri Lanka. August has been discussed, but meanwhile what we have done is we have created a very in-depth guideline for the tourism industry, and SLTDA registered accommodation sector, restaurants all can apply for the certification. You don't have to be 5-star or 4-star or whatever. Anybody registered, whether it is homestay or rest houses, hostels, anybody can apply if you are registered with SLTDA. Anybody who is not registered today, we urge you to approach us. There's an online registration process available. We will assist you to get registration. The previous on-arrival visa has been suspended for the moment. Going forward, there will be a visa process which would include the requirement to provide your itinerary and bookings in a registered, certified, COVID-certified, safe hotels. There would be requirements for PCR tests. Unfortunately, it's a very stringent guideline, but we have to keep it stringent to safeguard the citizens of Sri Lanka. Therefore, currently the requirement is a PCR set 72 hours before, on arrival 5 to 7 days and 10 to 12 days. With regards to the PCR test to be done before arrival, there are a lot of constraints and practical issues that I can see that some countries do not allow PCR test to be done without symptoms. So this is a challenge we have to face.
Further, while thanking the country's domestic tourists for stepping up and sustaining the tourism industry during times of crisis, the SLTDA chairperson stated that every single necessary step to protect the citizens of Sri Lanka will be taken when the country opens its doors once again.
We want to thank the citizens of Sri Lanka. Domestic tourism has always supported Sri Lanka tourism. Even after the Easter Sunday bombing, it is domestic tourism that actually supported our industry. We will take every single necessary action to make sure our Sri Lanka are safe. And if there is any issue, we will then delay opening the airport if we believe it is not in the interest of our Sri Lanka. First of all, we are Sri Lankan and we are proud Sri Lankans. We can all be proud Sri Lankans after the COVID pandemic.
The Election Commission today rejected the request of political party representatives to establish election officers at polling stations across the country. Party representatives expressed their displeasure over not being able to arrive at a common ground with regards to the election campaign process due to the lack of flexibility shown by the Election Commission in the face of challenges posed in the current virus situation.
A meeting meeting between all party secretaries and the Election Commission was held at the Election Secretariat in Rajagiriya today.
අපේ අංක ප්‍රදර්ශනය කිරීම විශාල අර්බුදයක් වෙලා තිබුණා. ඒ නිසා අපි ඉල්ලීමක් කරා හැම ඡන්ද මධ්‍යස්ථානයකම කාර්යාලයක් ඉදි කරන්න අපිට අවශ්‍ය වාතාවරණ සකස් කරලා දෙන්න කියලා. නමුත් මැතිවරණ කොමිසම කියන්නේ ඒක කරන්න දෙන්න බෑයි කිය. කොරෝනා තත්ත්වයත් එක්ක මැතිවරණ කොමිසමත් යම් නම්මශීලී භාවයකට පත් වෙන්න ඕන. කොමිසම සභාපතිතුමා ඊටාම ප්‍රායෝගිකයි. එතුමාගේ ක්‍රියාවලිය නෙමෙයි මෙතන තියෙන්නේ. මෙතන මේ එක කොමසාරිස්වරයෙක්ගේ තියෙන අතනෝමතික හිතුවක්කාරී ක්‍රියාවලියද මොකද ඔහු හිතන්නේ නීතියට අනුවම සියල්ල ක්‍රියාත්මක කළ යුතුයි කියලා. එතුමා සඳහන් කරන රත්නජීවන් හෝල් මහතාට මම ලංකාවම දන්නවා කවුද කියලා. මම කියන්න ඕනේ.
මැතිවරණ කොමිෂන් සභාව යම්කිසි වැරදි තීරණයක් ගත්තා කියලා මම හිතනවා. මොකද මේ මෙතෙක්කල් බොහොම සමගියෙන් පක්ෂ කාර්යාල පිහිටවීම වගේ කටයුතු සම්බන්ධයෙන් එකඟතාවයකින් කටයුතු කරා. නමුත් අද දිනේදී කාර්යාලවල කටවුට් දැමීම වගේ කාරණා සම්බන්ධයෙන් කිසිදු එකඟතාවයක් නැතුව මම හිතන්නේ මැතිවරණ ක්‍රියාදාමය තුල තිබිච්ච විනය නැති කිරීමේ කටයුත්තකට මුලපිරුවා කියලා මට හිතෙනවා. මහින්ද දේශප්‍රිය මැතිතුමා සභාපතිවරයා හැටියට එයට අනුගත වෙන්න උත්සාහ කරත් අනිත් සමාජිකයන් දෙදෙනාම ඒකට දැඩි ලෙස විරුද්ධ වුණා.
මැතිවරණ කොමිසම විසින් ගෙන තිබෙන තත්ත්වය අනුව කිසිදු මෙහෙයවීමකින් තොරව ඡන්ද ප්‍රචාර කටයුතු වල කාර්යාල පවත්වාගෙන යාම යම් ව්‍යාකූලත්වයක් නිර්මාණය වීම ඉඩකඩක් ඇති වී තිබෙනවා.
කොවිඩ් තත්ත්වයේ තුල ජනතාව දැනුවත් කරන්න තියෙන ඉඩකඩ සීමා කිරීම සාධනීය තත්ත්වයක් නෙමෙයි. මොකද ඡන්දදායකයට ඡන්දේ පාවිච්චි කරන්නටත් අපේක්ෂකව පිළිබඳව යම් අවබෝධයක් තියෙන්නට ඕනේ. මේ නීති රීතිත් එක්ක කරගෙන යන්න පුළුවන්ද මේ මැතිවරණය?
කරන්න වෙලා තියෙනවනේ. කරන්න වෙනවනේ. අපිට නම් අමාරුවක් නැහැ.
අපිත් පිළිගන්නවා නිරෝධායන නීතිය අනුව ප්‍රශ්නයක් කියලා. නමුත් කාර්යාල අරණකේවත් ප්‍රචාරණය අපිට ලබා දෙන්න ඕන. මොකද තාප්පත් නැහැනේ ඔක්කොම පින්තූර ඇඳලානේ.
The Criminal Investigation Department was ordered to implement arrest warrants against former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran and the 9th suspect of the controversial Treasury bond transaction Ajahn Punchiheva. The order was issued by Fourth Magistrate Ranga Disanayake when the case over the misappropriation of over 50 billion rupees during the central bank auction back in 2016 was taken up for hearing today.
The Criminal Investigations Department submitted a report to the Fourth Magistrates Court today regarding investigations into alleged misappropriation of over 50 billion rupees during the central bank bond auctions held on the 29th of March 2016 and on the 31st of March 2016. Fourth Magistrate Ranga Disanayake ordered the Criminal Investigation Department to execute the warrants issued on the 6th of March against former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran and the 9th suspect in the case Ajahn Punchiheva with immediate effect. The Fourth Magistrate also ordered the CID to produce the 8th suspect of the bond scam, Muthuraja Surendran, a director of the Perpetual Treasuries Limited, at the next hearing of the case. The case will be taken up again on the 9th of September.
More news on the other side of this break. Stay tuned.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
Welcome back. In more news, retired Eastern Province Military Head Major General Andrew Lal Pereira testified before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the Easter Sunday attacks yesterday. The former military officer highlighted to the Commission action taken against Arabization of areas in the province and of political influence being brought to bear on such activities by prominent politicians at the time. He added that following the government of good governance taking office, a systematic weakening of the intelligence structure commenced unabated.
Retired Major General Andrew Lal Pereira, who served as the Military Forces Commander of the Eastern Province from 2011 to 2015, testified before the Presidential Commission investigating the Easter Sunday attacks last night. He told the Commission that he had personally established 2 intelligence units in the province. He added that intelligence briefings were held every month, where then Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa reviewed all information gathered each month, along with top Tri-Forces officers. He also revealed that at the time, although the process of Arabization of Katankudi and Kinya were already visibly taking place, the 2 units were successful in stifling such activities through their action. The former military officer added that at that time, overnight bulldozing of up to 100 acres was taking place frequently, which threatened the holdings belonging to the historic Digavapia and Muduma Viharya. However, these activities were stopped by establishing military outposts at those locations. Further, he stated that mosques were being constructed at a density of 1 for each group of 10 to 12 families, which are funded by foreign donations. When the commission inquired as to who was the most influential politician in the east at the time, he replied that MLAM Hizbullah was the most politically active in the Katangudi area. He also revealed that former Minister Rauf Hakim had attempted to effect the removal of the military outpost by bringing pressure to bear on his military superiors. He added that in 2014, following the clashes in Dargah town Alutgama, intelligence units had uncovered information regarding plans by members of the National Tawhid Jamaat to attack a temple or a Buddhist monk in the eastern province in retaliation. Major General Pereira stated that he had learned after the Easter attacks that Zahran Hashim was among the conspirators. He also told the commission that following the new government taking office in 2015 and his own tenure coming to an end, he was transferred to another posting. In addition, he stated that arrests of intelligence officers, along with transfers of others, contributed to the weakening of the country's intelligence capabilities at the time. Meanwhile, after it was revealed that a specialist orthopedic surgeon had assisted in the transfer of Zahran Hashim's brother Rilwan Hashim from Katangudi to Colombo and also advised the group on emergency first aid treatment for his injuries sustained in an explosion in Katangudi, the commission then called on the surgeon to record evidence. In his testimony, the surgeon stated that at about 1:38 am on August 27, 2018, he received a phone call from his school friend Mohammad Alia Rila from Saudi Arabia. Claiming that a friend of his had sustained injuries in a gas cylinder explosion, he had requested for first aid advice after sending him photographs of the injuries via a local WhatsApp account. The witness stated that according to the photographs, he had advised the transfer of the injured person to either the Batiklo, Kandy or Colombo National Hospitals, as his injuries were considered serious. He added that he had only learned that it was Zahran's brother who had been admitted upon his instructions after the attacks. He further stated that his schoolmate Rila had introduced Zahran Hashim to him as a Maulavi.
Police media spokesperson SP Jaliya Senaratna revealed today that the proceeds from the Vellampitiya copper factory operated by an Easter Sunday bomber were directly invested in aiding Zahran Hashim's terrorist activities. He made this statement at a media briefing held at the police headquarters today.
දැනට නඩු භාණ්ඩ වශයෙන් T56 ගිනියවි 3ක්, ඒ වගේම රිවෝල්වර 2ක්, පිස්තෝලයක්, ඊළඟට බෝර 12 ගිනියවියක්, ඩෙටනේටර් 2000කට ආසන්න ප්‍රමාණයක්, ජෙලක්නයිට් කූරු 600කට අධික ප්‍රමාණයක් ඇතුළු ඉතා විශාල අවි සහ උණ්ඩ ප්‍රමාණයක් මේ වින විට හොයාගෙන තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම බෝම්බ සෑදීම සඳහා භාවිත කරන ලබන නයිට්‍රික් ඇසිඩ්, යූරියා, පොටෑසියම් නයිට්‍රේට් ආදී ද්‍රව්‍ය තොගයක්ද මේ වෙන විට හොයාගෙන තියෙනවා සමස්ත විමර්ශනවල ප්‍රතිඵලයක් හැටියට. මේ අනුව සැකකරුවන් 200කට අධික ප්‍රමාණයක් මේ වෙන විට අත්අඩංගුවටගෙන විමර්ශනය කර රඳවාගෙන සහ රක්ෂිත බන්ධනාගාරගත කරමින් මේ විමර්ශනය කරගෙන යනවා. දැනට අනාවරණය වී තිබෙනවා විදේශීය තහනම් කළ සංවිධාන ඔස්සේ ඉතා විශාල මුදල් ප්‍රමාණයක් මෙම කටයුතු සඳහා ලැබී තිබෙන බව, ඒ වගේම දේශීයව පවත්වාගෙන ගිය නීති විරෝධීව කටයුතු කළ ව්‍යාපාර, ඒ වගේම නීත්‍යානුකූල මට්ටමින් ගෙන ගිය ව්‍යාපාර ආදියෙන් ඉතා විශාල මුදල් ප්‍රමාණයක් මේ වෙන විට මේ කටයුතු සඳහා යොදාගෙන ඇති බවට අනාවරණය වෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම වැල්ලම්පටිය ප්‍රදේශයේ පිහිටුවාගෙන ගිය තඹ කර්මාන්ත ශාලාවක ඇනවුම් කුඩා කර්මාන්ත වශයෙන් ව්‍යාජ ලෙස කරුණු ඉදිරිපත් කරමින් ලබාගෙන ඒ කර්මාන්ත ශාලාවට තඹ ලබාගෙන එහි නිෂ්පාදන රටේ පවතින නීතියට පටහැනි ආකාරයට විදේශ රටවල් වලට අලෙවි කරලා උපයාගත් මුදල් ඍජුවම සහරාන්ගේ මෙම ත්‍රස්තවාදී කටයුතු සඳහා ආයෝජනය කර ඇති බවට යොදවා ඇති බවට මේ වෙන විට තොරතුරු අනාවරණය වෙලා තියෙනවා. මේ විමර්ශනයේ අවසාන අදියරට දැනට මේ විමර්ශනය පැමිණ තිබෙනවා. තවදුරටත් අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීම සඳහා සැකකරුවන් කීප දෙනෙකුගේ සම්බන්ධතාව පිළිබඳව විමර්ශන පවත්වාගෙන යනවා. ඒ විමර්ශන ඉතා කඩිනමින් අවසන් කිරීමට හැකියාව ලැබේ කියලා මේ වෙන විට විශ්වාස කරනවා.
Deputy Director General of Public Health Services Dr. Paba Palihavarena stated that no new cases of community transmission have been reported so far, with a spike in infections only observed among foreign arrivals. However, the country's recoveries as a percentage now stands at 72.6%, showing signs of a continued increase.
26 more people who were infected with the virus recovered and were discharged today, bringing total recoveries in Sri Lanka to 1,397, along with 516 active cases. In the meantime, 10 new cases were confirmed yesterday, with 4 being technicians who arrived from Iran for work on the final phase of the Umayyad project. The rest of the new cases were naval personnel currently undergoing quarantine at the Kandakadu and Mihintale quarantine centres.
රට තුලින් කිසිවෙක් වාර්තා වන්නේ නැහැ. මේ වන විට නිරෝධායන මධ්‍යස්ථාන වලින් තමයි රෝගීන් වාර්තා වන්නේ. පිටරට සිට පැමිණෙන අය අතරින් තමයි අපි දැන් මේ වන විට වැඩියෙන් රෝගීන් සංඛ්‍යාව දකින්නේ. වැලිසර නාවික හමුදා කඳවුරත් රංගල නාවික හමුදා කඳවුරත් මේ වන විට රෝගීන්ගේ තොර ප්‍රදේශයක් හැටියට අපිට හඳුනා ගන්න පුළුවන්.
In another development, 27 Indian ship crew members from Mumbai and 53 Sri Lankan nationals from Chennai arrived in Sri Lanka yesterday. Furthermore, 275 migrant workers from Abu Dhabi also arrived back in the country and were subjected to PCR tests at the airport. Meanwhile, following a massive effort by the government to repatriate Sri Lankan nationals stranded abroad, a group of Sri Lankans stranded in Bangladesh have made a request to the government to bring them back to Sri Lanka.
In your business news, global stock markets ended higher during their trading sessions with the announcement of the World Health Organization that the drug dexamethasone could reduce COVID-19 death rates. Furthermore, all main indices in Europe also remained at least 0.6% stronger by the end of trading.
European shares added to their best gains in almost a month as safety plays lost their luster yesterday, with hopes of a rapid economic recovery holding firm against a resurgence of global coronavirus cases. Trial results announced yesterday showed dexamethasone used to reduce inflammation in other diseases such as arthritis reduced death rates by around a third among the most severely ill COVID-19 patients admitted to hospital. Europe's stock 600 trimmed its early gains, but all the main indexes were still at least 0.6% higher. Elsewhere in USA, the Dow ended yesterday up 2.04%, while the S&P 500 gained 1.90% and the Nasdaq 1.75%. Data showed that US retail sales bounced back sharply in May, but new infections have hit record highs in 6 US states, and China has cut flights and closed schools to contain a fresh outbreak in Beijing. In Asia, Japan's Nikkei is 0.5% after jumping almost 5% yesterday for its biggest daily gain in 3 months. Chinese blue chips recovered from an early dip to finish steady despite Beijing's worst resurgence in COVID-19 cases in 4 months.
Sri Lankan stocks closed 0.87% stronger as the All Share Price Index gained 42.68 points to end at 4,958.24. Meanwhile, the S&P SL20 index of most liquid stocks gained 2.02% or 41.99 points to end at 2,121.11. Further, market turnover was 2.1 billion rupees, while 94 stocks gained and 55 stocks fell. Here's a brief report on today's market performance.
Today in the stock market, we saw huge positive momentum that was built up, especially in the banking and finance sector. So yesterday night, we saw the central bank issuing a statement cutting SRR by 2%. So this has a significant positive impact on the banking counters. With the SRR cut, there will be additional liquidity that will be generated to the banking stocks, and with that, there's a likelihood that their funding cost may significantly come down, which will actually increase their margins going forward. So with that, we saw a huge positive momentum in the market, and there was a lot of buying interest in the banking stocks dominated by the big 3 banks, Commercial Bank, HNB and Sampath. So with that, the ASPI moved up by 42 points, while the S&P SL20 moved up by around 51 points. Continuously, we are seeing a large amount of foreign outflows. However, most of the outflows has been absorbed by the local players. So with that, only the market is actually gaining on a positive momentum. There is heavy demand among local investors to especially buying into banking counters. So we have a lot of retail participation that is there in the market at the moment. Today we saw turnover levels rising beyond 2 billion mark, significantly higher than the usual 1 billion turnover levels as well.
The rupee closed weaker at 186 rupees and 45 to 65 cents to the US dollar today, while stocks gained and bond yields fell more than 50 basis points in one of the highest one-day falls, a dealer said. The rupee closed at 186 to 186 rupees and 30 cents against the greenback yesterday. We'll return after this short commercial break. Stay tuned. Welcome back in your international news. India reported a massive spike in daily COVID-19 deaths after 2,000 patients succumbed in the last cycle, making it the highest global fatalities recorded today. Furthermore, China has raised its emergency levels as the virus began to spread among a new cluster identified from a market in Beijing.
India's overnight COVID-19 death toll surpassed 2,000, recording the highest global overnight death toll during the last cycle. The amount of total infections in the country now stands at 354,161. In the meantime, Beijing raised its emergency level from the third to the second level yesterday, after a fresh cluster of COVID-19 cases were reported in the city. The latest increase in infections in the Chinese capital was first reported on 11th of June after a 52-year-old man tested positive. Beijing's health authorities reported 27 new COVID-19 cases yesterday, taking the city's tally to 106. Imported seafood products like salmon were removed from markets because the novel coronavirus was said to be found on one cutting board that was used to handle imported salmon in a wholesale market. Meanwhile, the Singaporean government has set up COVID-19 testing centers in different regions of the country to meet increased testing needs and curb the spread of the coronavirus by identifying infected patients as early as possible. Further, in a bid to resume business activities, has expanded the testing scale and set up 4 COVID-19 testing centers in the country so far. Singapore has already completed COVID-19 testing for nursing home residents and healthcare personnel, as well as staff at preschool educational institutions. Meanwhile, Colombia's capital of Bogota began easing lockdown measures yesterday to prevent the spread of the virus. However, its residents and authorities fear that a new wave of COVID-19 infections is to come after cases topped 50,000 at the weekend. To avoid a new wave of cases, the mayor of Bogota has announced new restrictions for citizens in accordance with their ID numbers. Mexico City's food markets started to reopen under strict biosecurity protocols to prevent the spread of the virus. Salespeople were seen adding plastic sheets to the stands to separate salespeople and customers. Before entering the market, workers checked the temperature of customers, and hand washing stations were also installed in local markets, with workers wearing face shields.
US President Donald Trump yesterday signed an executive order on policing amid calls for action against police brutality and racism. It came 3 weeks after the death of George Floyd, a 46-year-old African-American man in police custody in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which has triggered nationwide demonstrations. The executive order focuses on 3 areas: credentialing and certifying police officers, boosting information sharing to track officers accused of excessive use of force, and creating co-responder programs on mental health, drug addiction and homelessness. It also says police departments must prohibit the use of chokeholds, a physical maneuver that restricts an individual's ability to breathe for the purposes of incapacitation, except in those situations where the use of deadly force is allowed by law. Trump, speaking at the White House before signing the executive order, stressed that he strongly opposes efforts to defund or dismantle police departments, calling the ideas radical. Without police, there is chaos. Without law, there is anarchy. And without safety, there is catastrophe, he said. And that's a wrap here at First at 9. Thank you for joining. I'm Shanella Fernando.